Right.
You've been exploring some pretty mind-blowing ideas after watching a YouTube video
Yeah.
titled "Scientists Think the Universe is Alive." And it's terrifying. We're going to unpack that, looking at the connections between the human brain
Yeah.
and the structure of the universe
Uh-huh.
and concepts like panpsychism and
Wow.
quantum mechanics.
It is a fascinating area of exploration.
Yeah.
It moves beyond our typical definition of life to the possibility that the universe itself
Right.
might have some form of consciousness.
Exactly. The video starts by discussing the work of astrophysicist Franco Vasa
Yeah.
and neurosurgeon Alberto Fetti. They compare the structure of the human brain
Okay.
to the cosmic web of galaxies.
And what they found is that despite a size difference of 27 orders of magnitude,
Wow.
that's a one with 27 zeros after it, there's a striking similarity in how matter is distributed. In both systems,
Wow.
Vasa was even quoted as saying,
Wow.
the similarity is amazing.
It is an incredible visual to imagine. The intricate network of neurons in the brain mirrors the vast cosmic network of galaxy clusters and filaments. But it goes even further than that, right?
Yes, both the brain and the universe are made up of about 25% visible matter and 75% invisible matter. In the universe, we call this invisible matter dark matter.
Right.
In the brain, it's water.
Okay.
Now, while this parallel doesn't automatically mean the two are directly connected, it
Yeah.
certainly deepens the mystery.
It does make you wonder about the nature of these parallels. And this is where the concept of panpsychism comes into play. Can you explain what panpsychism is all about?
Panpsychism proposes that consciousness isn't something exclusive to brains,
Okay.
but is actually a fundamental property of reality itself. Even the simplest particles, the very building blocks of everything, would possess some rudimentary form of consciousness.
So instead of consciousness arising from complex structures like the brain,
Yeah.
it's actually present in everything from the start.
Right.
It would completely change how we view the world around us.
It would indeed. Imagine a world where your plants,
Yeah.
even the walls,
Wow.
have some level of experience. How would you interact with your surroundings differently?
Right.
That's the kind of thought experiment the video proposed.
It's almost a surreal concept to consider, but it's been around for a long time, hasn't it?
Panpsychism has its roots in ancient Greece with philosophers like Thales and Plato.
Okay.
They grappled with the idea of a universe that was alive and aware.
Right.
The term panpsychism itself comes from the 16th century philosopher
Okay.
Francesco Patrizzi.
So the video is tapping into a philosophical question that has been debated for centuries.
Yes.
It seems like these questions are getting a renewed look in modern science as well.
That's right. Traditional science struggles to explain how consciousness emerges from matter. Panpsychism offers an alternative.
Right.
Maybe consciousness doesn't emerge. It's already there, woven into the fabric of existence. Advancements in neuroscience and quantum physics are giving us new tools to explore these ideas.
It's exciting to see ancient philosophical questions meeting cutting-edge science. And this is where the idea of a quantum connection to consciousness comes in correct.
Exactly. To understand this connection, we need to consider the concept of quantum fields.
Okay.
Quantum fields are often described as the underlying reality, the
Mhm.
fundamental stuff that makes up everything we observe.
Wow.
Our brains, our bodies, everything we interact with emerges from interactions within these fields.
So rather than solid matter being the base of reality,
Yeah.
it's these quantum fields that are constantly interacting and creating everything we perceive.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Now, some researchers, like Henry Stapp,
Okay.
suggest that consciousness itself might be a property of these fields, not just a product of the physical brain.
So instead of our consciousness being limited to our skulls,
Yeah.
it could be rooted in this deeper, more fundamental level of reality. That would mean consciousness isn't generated by the brain, but it's expressed through it.
That's one interpretation. And it leads to some fascinating questions about the universe and our role in it.
Yeah.
Physicist John Wheeler proposed the idea of a participatory universe, where the universe is continuously shaped by our observations and conscious choices.
So our decisions and observations could actually influence the universe at a quantum level.
Yeah.
That connects to the many worlds interpretation, where each choice splits reality into different branches, creating a multiverse of possibilities.
Yes, there are definite links between those ideas. It also ties into what's called the measurement problem in quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Observing a quantum system can actually change its state.
Wow.
Some believe that consciousness itself might be what causes the collapse of the wave function, forcing reality to solidify from a sea of possibilities.
Hold on a second. Are we saying that our minds could be shaping reality itself?
It's a very thought-provoking and controversial concept. We're diving into the deep end of quantum mechanics and its intersection with consciousness. There's still much to be explored in this area.
Definitely. The video also touched on the idea that information itself might be the fundamental building block of the universe.
Right.
That seems like a huge leap from what we typically consider information. Can you elaborate on that?
It is, think of information not as data or facts,
Okay.
but as anything that makes a difference, as described by Gregory Bateson.
Okay.
It's a fundamental concept separate from matter and energy. Physicist John Wheeler even went so far as to say it from bit,
Right.
implying that the physical world emerges from information.
So we're talking about information in a much deeper sense than just the words on a page or the data on a computer.
Yes,
It sounds like a completely different way of understanding reality.
it is. And if the universe is fundamentally information,
Right.
then it suggests a sort of inherent meaning within it. And meaning, of course, requires an interpreter,
Right.
a conscious observer.
So we're not just passive observers of the universe.
Yeah.
We're active participants, contributing to its unfolding and interpretation. It's
Exactly.
a radical shift in perspective.
It is indeed. And it's a perspective that leads us to consider how different cultures and philosophical systems view the relationship between consciousness and the universe. The video used a compelling analogy to illustrate these contrasting viewpoints.
Oh, yes, the analogy of the circle and the plane.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through that again? I love analogies.
Sure.
They help me visualize these complex ideas.
Imagine a circle on a plane.
Okay.
The circle represents consciousness, and the plane represents the universe.
Right.
Western thought often places the circle within the plane.
Okay.
Consciousness is seen as a product of the brain,
Oh.
which is a part of the physical universe.
That aligns with the scientific view that the mind is generated by the brain.
Yeah,
It's like a bubble of awareness contained within a vast, indifferent universe.
exactly. However, Eastern philosophies often depict it differently. Consciousness isn't contained within the universe. It encompasses it. It's like the plane surrounding the circle.
Okay.
Consciousness becomes the fundamental reality from which the universe arises.
That's a profound shift. Instead of the universe trying to understand itself,
Right.
we become consciousness trying to understand the universe.
Precisely. And this difference in perspective highlights the ongoing debate about the nature of consciousness and our place in the universe.
It's incredible to think about how these ideas from different cultures and fields of study are converging on this fundamental question.
Yeah.
It's like a giant puzzle where pieces from science, philosophy, and spirituality are starting to fit together.
And as we explore these pieces further, we begin to see the potential terrifying aspect
Right.
that the YouTube video hinted at. It's both awe-inspiring and potentially unsettling to grapple with the implications of a conscious universe.
I'm definitely feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension as we delve deeper into these ideas, but I'm eager to see where this exploration leads us next.
Me too. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of this fascinating topic. There's so much more to uncover as we delve deeper into the potential for a conscious universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to our deep dive, ready to continue exploring the concept of a conscious universe.
Absolutely. I've had a few moments to process everything we discussed in the first part, and I'm ready for more. I'm particularly curious about the idea of the universe as information and what that means for the role of consciousness.
It's a truly fascinating concept. The video highlighted the work of John Wheeler, a renowned physicist. He believed that information isn't merely a way to describe the universe.
Right.
It's actually the fundamental building block of reality.
So instead of thinking of information as just data or facts,
Yeah,
it's something more foundational, like the raw material from which everything is built.
precisely. Wheeler famously summed it up with the phrase, it from bit.
Okay.
The it refers to the physical world,
Right.
and the bit refers to information.
Okay.
He suggested that everything we perceive,
From galaxies to atoms emerges from information.
that's a pretty radical departure from how we usually think about the universe.
Right.
It challenges the idea that physical matter is the most basic element of reality.
Right.
But how does consciousness fit into this picture?
Well, if information is the fundamental building block,
Right.
then consciousness could be seen as the process that interprets and gives meaning to that information.
Okay.
Think about it without consciousness. Information is just raw data. It's our minds that create meaning,
Right.
that see patterns and connections, and that tell stories about the universe.
So in a sense, consciousness brings the universe to life.
Yeah.
Without conscious observers, the universe would just be a vast sea of meaningless data.
That's one way to interpret it. And this is where the idea of a participatory universe comes into play,
Right.
which John Wheeler also championed. He suggested that our observations, our acts of measurement and conscious interaction,
Yeah.
actually contribute to shaping the universe.
So it's not a one-way street.
Right.
We're not just passive recipients of information from the universe.
Yeah.
We're actively influencing it through our conscious engagement.
Exactly. Wheeler believed that the universe isn't a static entity, but a dynamic process that involves the observer.
Right.
He even used the analogy of a game being played between the universe and the observer,
Wow.
where each move influences the next.
That's a really intriguing way to visualize it.
Yeah,
It almost feels like a cosmic dance between consciousness and the universe.
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And this idea of participatory consciousness leads to some mind-bending implications, particularly when we consider quantum mechanics.
Yes. The video mentioned that quantum mechanics offers some interesting insights into the potential role of consciousness in shaping reality.
It does. Remember how we talked about the measurement problem in quantum mechanics?
Right.
This refers to the strange phenomenon where quantum systems exist in a state of superposition,
Yeah.
meaning they can be in multiple states at once. Until they are observed or measured, it's only then that the wave function collapses,
Right.
and the system chooses a specific state.
So before we measure it, a particle could be in multiple places or states simultaneously.
Yeah,
It's only when we interact with it that it settles into a defined reality.
exactly. And the big question that has puzzled physicists for decades is what causes this collapse of the wave function?
Yeah.
What forces the quantum system to make a choice? Some physicists,
Right.
particularly those exploring the intersection of quantum mechanics and consciousness,
Okay.
suggest that it's the act of observation, the engagement of a conscious mind, that triggers the collapse.
So our consciousness could actually be influencing the behavior of subatomic particles.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wild thought.
It is, and it raises profound questions about the role of consciousness in the universe.
Yeah.
If our observations can influence quantum systems, and quantum systems are the building blocks of reality,
Right.
does that mean our consciousness plays a role in shaping the very fabric of the universe?
That's a pretty heady concept to grapple with.
Right.
But if that's the case, it would imply a level of interconnectedness between our minds and the universe that we're only just beginning to understand.
Absolutely. And this interconnectedness is a recurring theme in many spiritual and philosophical traditions,
Okay.
particularly those from the East.
Yes. I remember the video discussed the contrast between Eastern and Western perspectives on consciousness.
Yeah,
Can we delve a little deeper into that?
of course. Remember the analogy of the circle and the plane?
Right.
In Western thought, consciousness is often seen as the circle contained within the plane of the universe.
Okay.
It's a product of the brain, a localized phenomenon within a larger material reality.
It's like a bubble of awareness within a vast and different universe,
Precise.
as I mentioned earlier.
But Eastern philosophies often present a very different picture.
Right.
Consciousness is seen as encompassing the universe,
Okay.
like the plane surrounding the circle. It's the fundamental reality from which the universe arises.
So in this view, consciousness isn't something that emerges from matter.
Right.
It's the other way around. The universe is a manifestation of consciousness.
That's a core principle in many Eastern traditions.
Wow.
For example, in Advaita Vedanta, a school of Hindu philosophy,
Right.
consciousness is seen as the ultimate reality, and the perceived world is a manifestation of that consciousness.
It's fascinating to see how these different perspectives offer such contrasting views of our place in the universe.
It is, and it highlights the limitations of our scientific worldview,
Right.
which has traditionally focused on studying the objective world through observation and measurement.
Right.
But consciousness is inherently subjective. It's about inner experience.
It's like trying to study dreams using only a microscope.
Exactly.
You might be able to observe brain activity patterns, but you'll never capture the essence of the dream experience itself.
And the video argued that we might need to develop new scientific methods,
Right.
perhaps drawing from fields like quantum mechanics or even incorporating insights from contemplative traditions to truly understand the nature of consciousness.
So we might need to go beyond traditional scientific methods to explore this inner dimension of reality.
It seems likely. And this exploration might require us to bridge the gap between science and spirituality,
Okay.
to find ways of studying consciousness that honor both its subjective and objective aspects.
That's a fascinating challenge. It seems like we're at the very beginning of a journey that could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness and its place in the universe.
We are. And while the concept of a conscious universe might seem radical or even unsettling to some,
Yeah,
it offers a new perspective on our interconnectedness with the cosmos.
it does raise profound questions about our responsibility as conscious beings.
Yeah,
If we are part of a larger web of consciousness,
right.
then our actions and choices have implications that extend far beyond our individual lives.
That's an important point to consider. It suggests a need for a more ethical and compassionate approach to how we interact with each other and the planet.
Indeed. This deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's expanded my perspective on what's possible and challenged my assumptions about the nature of reality.
That's the power of exploring these big questions. They push us to think beyond our current understanding and to embrace the mystery and wonder of the universe.
And those are the kind of questions that make this exploration so intriguing. Welcome back to our deep dive into the conscious universe. We've been on quite a journey exploring some really thought-provoking ideas about the nature of reality and the role of consciousness.
It's been an exciting exploration, and as we move into this final part, I think it's worth revisiting the idea of information as the fundamental and how that might connect to the concept of a conscious universe.
Yes, I remember that the video drew some interesting parallels between the structure of the brain and the structure of the universe,
Yeah,
particularly in relation to information processing.
that's right. The brain, with its vast network of neurons, processes information through complex patterns of electrical and chemical signals. And as we discussed earlier, the universe itself could be viewed as a vast network processing information through the interactions of galaxies, stars, and all the matter and energy within it.
So the idea is that both the brain and the universe share a fundamental structure for processing information, even though they exist on vastly different scales.
Exactly. And if we consider the concept of consciousness as being fundamentally linked to information processing, then it raises the question, could the universe itself, with its intricate web of information exchange, possess some form of consciousness?
That's a big leap, but it's a fascinating one to consider. It would imply that consciousness isn't limited to biological beings, but could exist on a cosmic scale.
It would indeed. And this brings us back to the concept of panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a fundamental property of reality itself, present even in the most basic elements of the universe.
Right, so instead of consciousness being a product of complex biological structures, it's actually woven into the very fabric of existence.
That's the core idea of panpsychism. And when we consider the universe as a vast information processing system, it provides a framework for understanding how this universal consciousness might operate.
It's almost like imagining the universe as a giant cosmic brain, constantly exchanging information and evolving through that process.
That's a powerful analogy, and it resonates with certain spiritual and philosophical traditions that speak of a universal consciousness or a cosmic mind.
The video also raised an interesting point about the limitations of our current scientific approach when it comes to understanding consciousness.
Yes, science is incredibly effective at studying the objective, measurable world. But consciousness is inherently subjective. It's about inner experience, feelings, qualia.
Right, we can study brain activity and map neural correlates of consciousness, but that doesn't fully capture the subjective experience of what it's like to be conscious.
Exactly. And the video argued that we may need to develop new scientific methods, or perhaps even incorporate insights from contemplative traditions to truly grasp the nature of consciousness.
So we might need to go beyond traditional scientific methods to explore this inner dimension of reality.
It seems likely. And this exploration might require us to bridge the gap between science and spirituality to find ways of studying consciousness that honor both its subjective and objective aspects.
That's a fascinating challenge. It seems like we're at the very beginning of a journey that could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness and its place in the universe.
We are. And while the concept of a conscious universe might seem radical or even unsettling to some, it offers a new perspective on our interconnectedness with the cosmos.
It does raise profound questions about our responsibility as conscious beings. If we are part of a larger web of consciousness, then our actions and choices have implications that extend far beyond our individual lives.
That's an important point to consider. It suggests a need for a more ethical and compassionate approach to how we interact with each other and the planet.
Indeed, this deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about. It's expanded my perspective on what's possible and challenged my assumptions about the nature of reality.
That's the power of exploring these big questions. They push us to think beyond our current understanding and to embrace the mystery and wonder of the universe.
And to our listener, if this exploration has sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to continue the journey. Delve into the fascinating world of quantum mechanics, explore the diverse perspectives on consciousness, and keep asking those big questions.
Because the universe is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and perhaps one day we'll unlock the secrets of the conscious universe and our place within this grand cosmic tapestry.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's inspired you to explore the wonders of the universe and the mysteries of consciousness with a fresh sense of awe and curiosity. Until next time.